Our very first contract that we won, and that one was for $1.4 million. I said, wow. Well, they was looking for some housing out in Colorado. The very next month after that, another one came in for literally the same thing. This was in Oregon, and they was looking to house firefighters as well. And that one is $178,000 over the next 5 years. One thing you should definitely do is communicate.
Kurt, how did you even get into contracting? Because you've won a lot of contracts.
Well, believe it or not, I only won 2 contracts.
Yeah, but that's still 2 more than most people.
That is true. That is very true.
You know, it's amazing.
Right. It's amazing, a blessing all up in one. So how I got in contract, I got a little cheat code, I guess, because I used to work for the federal government in contracting.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I was a contract specialist and served under several contracting officers and the whole nine. So I have a little cheat code that has helped me get to that point. So I worked for the federal government for over 11 years before I resigned from 2011 to 22, right? Probably in the middle of COVID. Is when I left the federal government to do this full time. And like I say, I have my master's degree in acquisition and contracts. So I have a lot of experience in government contracts, but from the government side. So I never, this is my first time experience on the contractor side. So taking that knowledge and applying it has, got me to this point and hopefully even further and beyond.
No, I love this. And then what made you say, okay, I have this experience. I've worked for the government for 11 years. Now I am going to try and sell, and not just try, but end up selling to the government.
Right. So our business is Acquire Home Corp, and we started that. My wife and I, we started that back in 2017 as a hospitality business, mainly in short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO. So kind of around that time when that kind of got, popular, I guess, for lack of better words. And I said, well, this is doing really well for us. It was doing well, but I still want to get into traditional real estate. So I said, how can I use some of this skill set with traditional real estate and build equity and build revenue so I can purchase some multifamily, because I've had mentors in that whole space. So what came about it was somebody said, well, won't you just take what you do and just sell it to the government? And I said, I started thinking about it and thinking about some of the agencies I used to work for. And I'm like, you know what? We did used to sell, or should I say we used to buy everything, especially around this time of the year for year end. So I said, well, let me see if there's some real estate type solicitations and procurement things out there. And sure enough, there were several. And I said, well, some of the ones that I did see, I was like, I don't know if we will qualify for that. But then I just had to put on my hat and say, well, maybe you can be a sub to the sub. So I just kind of do some digging, doing some research, and I saw some other solicitations and just kind of went with it from there.
Wow. And so what was your first win, and when did that happen?
Yeah, so the first win was last year. It was with the Department of Interior, and I wasn't even thinking about the contract. And it was actually my 7th bid. So my first bid was with the VA. Let me back up. I put a bid in with the VA for some housing out of, I think they was out of North Carolina. I think who they officer. They were looking for some housing out there. And I put a bid in for that. And that was the first one. So I got kind of a little greedy. I knew in the back of my head, I was like, but you get the answers. You think, okay, the federal government, they got a big bankroll. So I'm like, I'm just going to throw it out there and see, but not knowing, like, you was a contract specialist, you was a contracting officer, the game. But let me do it anyway. So I bid on my very first one, and it was probably about $1 million over the winning bid. So I said, look, you knew better than that, but look, you never know. You try, you shoot for the stars.
No, I know everything is possible. I mean,
right.
I commend you,
So yeah, it was literally over the winning bid. So, I went out to reach out to the contracting officer and said, disappointed a little bit that we didn't win, but I fully understand. But I said, I do want to debrief just to see, kind of where we went wrong, if we was technically acceptable. Because I said, well, let me at least see if we was technically acceptable. I could take that information and apply it to future bids. And she actually took my call. I didn't think she would take my call, but she actually took my call, and she debriefed me right there on the spot and said, well, your bid was one of the lower ones based on price. But she said, as far as technically acceptable, you were spot on. You had everything that we was looking for. And I said, okay. I said, well, that's really all I needed for the debrief. So that debrief lasted literally probably about a minute.
Wow.
Before she was like, any other questions you have? And I said, that's really the only question I had. I said, was I technically acceptable? And the fact that you said that I was, and it was just price was, just higher than what they accepted it as. I said, okay, I know what to do from there. So fast forwarding 6 contract bids later, and it's the ones in between, it was some hotel contracts, it was like some landscape contracts, some of those type of things that we didn't win, and that was okay. So this Department of Interior contract, it was out of Colorado, and the solicitation had maybe went back maybe a couple months before it closed. So I didn't know if it was still open or not, because
Oh.
it was maybe January of 2024 when the original solicitation was posted, and we didn't get the award until maybe June of that year for the start date to be August of last year. So it's sat, and the due date, like I say, was around January, February. We put it in. I didn't hear anything about it. I didn't follow up with the contract because I'm like, I'm just trying to see, keep the ball rolling, put as many out there as I can. And sure enough, fast forwarding, probably around June of last year, the contracting officer reached out to me and said, is your bid still good? And I had
Wow.
to, and I said, well, that was literally about 5 or 6 months ago. So I said, I don't even remember what this was. I probably put 20, 30 bid hit since then. But I said, yeah, sure, it's still good. And he said, okay, well, I'm gonna be reaching out to you, or my specialist will be reaching out to you to give you a formal offer. And I said, wow. And I said, let me go back in. And I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was out and about, and I said, let me see what I just agreed to and signed up for, because I really don't remember
Like, I remember.
what this was. I remember
What is it for? Like, what?
it was for housing. I was like, I
Okay.
remember it was for housing, but I didn't remember if
What kind of housing? Like, is it short term, long term, lot?
it
Like,
was long term. It
okay.
was long term. So what they was looking for, they was looking for some housing out in Colorado, and they was looking to house some firefighters out there, because the housing out there is very slim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I remember. Okay. It
Mhm.
sounds familiar.
Okay.
Please keep sharing more.
Yeah. So they was looking for some housing for some firefighters out there in the area, because the housing is very slim. The firefighters come in frequently, but sometimes they're not there at all. So, hotel space didn't really work, and they wanted them all kind of in the same space. So, and as I started listening and going back to what I put my bid, I said, okay, now I kind of recall how I did this bid and how I did it. And I basically used my whole experience in Airbnb and short-term rental space. I kind of used that same process to acquire it, to provide the housing for this contracting firefighters.
Okay, which is amazing, because I remember there was a slew. There was one for researchers in California, firefighters. There was a bunch of them.
Right.
And so I love that. So how long was the rental? Like 5, 6 months, couple years, several years?
Yeah, so it was a base in 4 years.
Okay, great.
It's in 4 years. So we're actually in option year 1. As we speak now, they exercise the option for year 1. So I'm hoping they do 2, 3, 4, and 5, which I'm staying in contact with the contracting officer. Actually, they have a new contracting officer now. So she's up to speed. She's liking me, and I'm giving them everything they need. But right now we're in option year 1, and hopefully they go further. But that one was our very first contract that we won, and that one was for $1.44 million.
Yes, which is amazing.
Very, very amazing. So
Which is very, very amazing. And then at some point, did you take one of our challenges, workshops, something that you went through?
I did. So back, I found you. I found you either YouTube or Instagram. Those are only 2 platforms, major platforms that I have. I guess I don't know if YouTube is a platform, but yes, those are 2 major platforms. And I think in one of your videos you mentioned Dr. Myron Golden.
Yes.
And Dr. Myron Golden was like, he's like my number 1 mentor, even though he doesn't know it, but he is. So when you mentioned that name, I say, wait a minute, she's familiar with Dr. Golden, and she does government contracts. And then I think one of your lines was, over $50 million in contracts. So I said, she's who I'm about to go follow and study, and hands down. And then I think, looking at several of your videos and your interviews, I was like, this woman knows exactly. She knows the game, and she knows what she's talking about. So I went into your challenge, the GovCon Winners Challenge. I think the one back in April was the first one. And I just recently did the one you did a couple weeks ago, the AI one. So Didn't get a chance to get in that one right now, but I do plan on getting because I fully understand AI. It's where it's going. So
Is definitely where it's going. And I love this. And so I appreciate you because it's clear you learn, apply, adjust. And you've
yes,
had that inside knowledge. And even though you didn't win the one, you continued on. Now you have one where you're getting 5 years of revenue. It's
right.
$1 million plus contract. So what other opportunities are you bidding on, and what else have you recently won? This is exciting.
Right, I appreciate it. Yeah, so literally that same year, we won that one. We got the award on that one in June of last year. July, the very next month after that, another one came in for literally the same thing. This was in Oregon, and they was looking to house firefighters as well. But this one was our Department of Interior, and they was looking for the same thing. And they wasn't looking for as many doors as the first one, but they was looking for one door. And I said, well, let me see, once again, what I bid on. And it was literally the same thing, the same concept. And I went back and looked at my proposal and everything. And I said, it was pretty much identical other than, some locale and some things of that nature. And they said, once again, same concept. Is your number still good and still active for this bid? And I said, yes, it is. And literally not even 5 minutes later, they said, you've won a contract. And that one is for literally the same thing, but just so happened to be in Oregon. And that one is $178,000 over the next 5 years. And they also exercised the first year, and we're in year one of that option year. So it was the same concept. So I said, providing the houses seems to be my niche based off of what we've done and what we've won. But right now I'm kind of bidding on several things while those are ongoing. You got your traditional ones like janitorial, your landscape contracts, things of that nature. I like the service-based contracts, like you said, because they are probably a year or 5 years. They have those optional years, and there's room for growth in those. But I'm not opposed to bidding on products.
No, which I like. And have you found or have you come across additional housing opportunities? Or do you think they would want to purchase either of the properties that you're involved in?
Yeah, so I have come across a few housing contracts. Like I say, same like the VA has several of them throughout the year that I'll see come out. As far as the contracts that we currently have, they haven't came up and said they would think about purchasing the property. I think the leasing works for them best as of now, but we'll see, how the budget and all that works out. But I wouldn't be opposed to putting some type of bid or something in if they would like to purchase the properties. But like you said, they have a lot of the ones for the scientists out in California, so we have some bids out there for those. I don't have any international bids or anything like that, but I would be open to whatever the government says they're open to. I'm open to meet that need regardless of what it is, especially if they reach out to us directly.
Yes, I agree with that because I've come across hotels in Israel. I've come across some other kind of housing things every now and again, and parking lots too.
I saw a parking lot one. It was a parking lot one that's actually out right now, and the title says housing, but when you start reading the detailed solicitation, they actually want you to redo a parking lot of a housing complex. There's some certain bids and bonds and stuff that they want you to have. So I said, I could play middle to it, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to jump into that space right this second, especially when you get into the companies that you're gonna sub to have bids and bonds and things of that nature. 9 times out of 10, just my assumption, they probably already familiar with it or probably maybe putting in their own bid. But I try to not necessarily go directly for those like that. Like I said, I want to do the service based ones, not those that is kind of one and done at this stage. But who knows?
Who knows? And it makes sense. And I'm assuming people are thinking, okay, so how are these properties paid for? Is it that you're paying for them? How does that work? Once you're informed, Kurt, you won, boom, then what happens?
So yeah, so for the audience that may be familiar with Airbnb, like I say, that was our background. Our background is Airbnb short-term rental. And I tell and teach people, if you want to get into the short-term rental space, you want to do the arbitrage method. I mean, there's that Airbnb and short-term rentals. It's real estate, but it's not your traditional real estate. We use real estate to cash flow, but it's not your traditional real estate. So it took that same concept and applied it to this housing for the federal government. So, I reached out to a apartment complex in a local area and just kind of, talk like, look, there's this opportunity out there where, the government is going to need some housing for the next 4 or 5 years. Would you guys be open to corporate lease, some of your units to me at this rate, at this discount? And they said, yes. There's so many words. They said, if you're going to get this many doors, and then, if it's federal government and you can prove that, and you already have a track record, like I said, we was already in business for 6 or 7 years. So if you can prove that you can financially hold this many leases and all that, then yeah, we'll be happy to do that, at a discounted rate. So that kind of helped me out a lot for putting in my bid to the federal government as far as for market rate. So that's the secret sauce, I guess, for lack of better words. So no, I don't own the properties, but I do the rental arbitrage method to acquire these leases.
Which is really common. I mean, it's no different than commercial space.
Exactly.
Usually somebody's representing the commercial space. The commercial space is owned by whomever, and then the government or whoever is renting from that space. No, I love this. And then is it that, okay, the lease starts 1 January, so then you pay whatever the money is, or is it, we have this relationship, we vetted you, you have this many doors, so you don't have to pay us until 1 February.
Exactly. So yeah, so we was able to line up the lease dates along with the government contract dates. So my government contract dates, for example, starts on August 1. So we was able to, finagle the leases to line up on those same dates. So that way, if it gets to the 12 months and they don't exercise the option, I'll know that, 9-10 months into it. That way I can let the apartment complex know that we won't be renewing the lease and it was not going to affect that agreement. And also building a relationship with the apartment complex. Like I say, I've got good enough to get to know the owner of the apartment complex, the management company out there, and everybody. So they know me by name. I know them by name. So just keeping them informed. Anything changes, the best way is to communicate with them and say, look, it's going to be a change here, or it might be a change there. What can we do to adjust? And it's been smooth sailing. Like I said, the first couple of months, the government didn't pay me. It was about 3 or 4 months behind because it was going through IPP. They had a upgrade in their system or something. So I was like, oh my goodness. It was like, how am I going to, pay this apartment complex right out the bat? Luckily, I know we reached out to them and I said, look, the government's behind a little bit. What can we do? How far can I go before you guys, want to terminate the lease? And they said, well, based on your numbers, based on your books and everything, we fully understand that, these type of things happen. We'll give you like a 60-day window before you have to pay this. And I went back to the government. I say, look, I need to at least pay these first 30 days. And things just kind of lined up and it worked out. But ever since then, they've been on time with their payments and we're able to stay a couple of months ahead on those payments.
No, and I love the communication because sometimes this happens. Whenever a new award is issued, it can take 30 to 90 days to get the first payment. So you did the right thing, communicating with them, communicating with the government instead of hiding or thinking the worst. Because people tend to be very flexible.
Right, they do. And like I say, this apartment complex, they was fairly new. They was new to the area. So they at the same time, I'm a tenant and I'm just like a regular old tenant. So to get this many doors up front, that fills their occupancy for their books. So, and then to, say once we land this, whatever the case may be, those government is our client, is our tenant. So that relationship, I'm sure they want to build. So like I say, the owner of the company, he was fairly young. So he kind of understood. He was like, this is new, but I see what you're doing and see where you're going with it. I want to be a part of this. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I mean, what's great is you have a guarantee. Well, you have a contract that's multiple years and both of you in sense have this guarantee.
Right.
Because usually a lease is month to month, a year, and then you never know, or somebody may move into bigger, better, or decide they want to buy a house. And it's
Right.
like, you are doing the corporate housing thing and going that path.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful. I love that you're doing this.
It is. And it's been several. Last San Diego had a huge one. San Diego they was looking for like 150 doors. I think it was a base or it was a base or something out there. I was so intimidated. I didn't put a bid in. I said, I'm not even going to touch this. I know I was intimidated by it.
It's
So
okay.
When that thing got awarded, Kizzy, I think it was like $40 or $50 million or something like that. But yeah, I probably could have used the same concept, but I was just like, I said, ain't no, I was just a little intimidated by that one.
But next time.
Next time for
But
sure.
next time, because there's no reason you can't do 300 doors.
Right.
There's really no reason you can't because you're already doing it and it's just at scale.
Right.
And then, are you a veteran?
I'm not a veteran. I'm not a veteran. We just got certified as women-owned.
Okay.
She's majority owner of the company, so we just got certified as well. But I'm not a veteran. That would be sweet to do a JV with one or
I
two.
know. No, I asked because you had talked about the VA, which is really great for everyone out there because the VA does have opportunities that are not service disabled,
Right.
set aside. So I think this is beautiful. But yeah, by all means, bid on the 100, 200, 300, bid on any FEMA housing or disaster relief housing because you already know what to do. And then I'm sure the cash flow, whatever is needed on the paying for the housing will happen.
Yeah, it will. And that's, I kind of had to learn that a little bit. I was a little nervous when you look at these type of contracts, like putting all this money up front, but I fully understand, like, okay, if the bids is creditable, which it is, and we're able to get funding from a lot of different sources at this stage, using that to, fund things up front if the necessary need is there. So it's just a learning process, but I'm here all for it, and I fully understand. I'm telling people, I'm like, look, government contracting, I'm telling you, it's can be intimidating, but the way Kizzy and people are explaining it, I'm telling you, it's not that bad. And the way she's incorporating AI into it now, I'm like, trust me, just put yourself out there in it and see what happens.
Well, I love that. And you got to tell us about the book because I love how it's displayed. So tell us about the book and how people can get in contact with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, so last year, you guys, I'm gonna drop his name again, Dr. Myron Golden. He kind of, if you ever took, if you guys don't know about him, go look up his YouTube as well. But anyway, I took one or two of his challenges, and in his challenges, he says, write the book, write a book, write a book. So I didn't know during COVID, I said, I don't know what to write a book on. I don't know what to write a book on. But something kind of hit me and said, you starting out with your business and everything, you had a whole process of learning experiences, I'll call them, that other people are coming across. You need to write your experiences down in this book and teach others to look out, because everybody wants to quit. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. That's like the hot thing right now. Mm-hmm. But it's a process. So I said, Kurt, sit down. What was the 7 challenges that you had writing this book? And it came to me like, okay, write the book, 7 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs, create before they leave their job. And that was me. We had several different things that we overlooked, from financing to rules and regulations to, stress, all of that, and being an entrepreneur. So in the book, it's going to capture all those 7 biggest mistakes to help that next entrepreneur to consider before they, make that leap. So that's where the book is at. You can find it on Amazon, just type in that title, it'll pop up. If you don't want to get on Amazon, you can reach out to my Instagram, which is simply Kurt_Wilson_256. It's public page, or you can just find me on Facebook. I'm old school. I still got a Facebook page. So just Kurt Wilson, shoot me a DM and I can, get you a signed copy of the book or mail you a book, something like that. But it's there. But the book really will help those that are thinking about making that leap of things to consider before you make that jump.
I love that because that's the goal. Many people want to leave their full-time job. They want to either get into government contracting or something else. So for someone who said, I am going to get into housing, I'm going to be like Kurt, whether it's hotels, it's short-term, long-term, what is the one thing that they definitely should do based on your experience?
One thing you should definitely do is communicate. I know it's cliche, but communicate. So if you don't understand, if you come across that solicitation that says, I want housing XYZ, I don't care where it is, how many doors, whatever they want, and you don't understand, pick up their phone and call that specialist or that contracting officer, that PLC on that solicitation. If they don't respond, shoot them an email. If they don't respond, shoot them an email. I'll say it again. If they still don't respond, read through that solicitation. I know it's easy to put it on ChatGPT and all these are platforms to read through, but take your time and read through that solicitation to see what they want. Then from there, take those questions that you may have and shoot. There most likely will be an opportunity to ask questions to that contracting officer that they have to respond to. Put your questions there, but communicate as much as you can for these housing contracts. And that's my one word advice. But I know it's cliche, but I'm telling you, communication is key to this game.
I love that. No, this is beautiful. And so once again, how can everyone reach out to you?
Yeah, so reach out to me. Like I say, I'm on Instagram. My page is public, so it's Kurt CRT _Wilson WILSON _256 is my Instagram. And like I say, Facebook. I'm still kind of old school, but Facebook, you can find me there. Just Kurt Wilson. You'll see my page. You'll see my face. You'll see the book, and you can follow me, friend me. I think you can still friend me, and I'm there. But also look for me to be with Kizzy.
Yes.
Say I'm gonna be in the challenges. I'm gonna be learning still. As you know, I'm taking this serious, and I'm gonna be learning from her, applying the AI tools and techniques. And like I say, because that $1.4 million contract is great, but I want to add a couple zeros to it. So.
And you definitely will. We're gonna bid on 100+, whatever 100+ housing the government comes up with, state, local. We'll talk more about that. I'm excited. That leads us to a part 2. So watch out. Be prepared for a part 2. Please reach out to Kurt. You are amazing, and I love what you have done.
Thank you.
You definitely continuously learn, apply, adjust, and you're giving them, the federal government, what they want. That's what you're giving them. That's what you're giving them. And I love that. And so everyone who is watching, please make sure that you like, subscribe, hit the notification button. Don't be a stranger. And I'm super, super excited and so grateful for our time.
Thank you too, Kizzy. I mean, for taking the call, taking the opportunity to have me on your platform. I'm truly grateful and thankful for it. And I appreciate all the hard work you're doing, and your information truly applied will pay off. I can guarantee you that to all your subscribers and listeners. Just stick with it, be consistent with it, and your opportunity will be right there.
Yes, it will. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Yes,
so yes, like, subscribe, hit the notification. Everything is possible. Take care, y'all.
Yes, thank you.